For the first time since 2011, Georgia Tech football is 6-0. And unlike that 2011 team that fell apart in the back end of the season, this year's squad is looking to go the distance. Next up on the chopping block is Duke. And if you don't think this is a big game, then you need to get your head out of the sand and wake up. I cannot emphasize to you enough just how important it is that Georgia Tech wins this game. Whoever wins this is going to have a great shot at making the ACC championship. And let me tell you, that means everything this season. Do not get it confused. This is a really good Duke team, and Tech is going to have to play their absolute best game to win this one. It's been a while since we've been an underdog. The media doesn't think we're going to win this. A lot of the analytics suggest that we're going to lose. But do not forget that this is a great Georgia Tech team. Brent Key and the boys have hearts of lions, and if there's ever a time to bring that kind of energy out, it's going to be on Saturday. We're going to need absolutely everything we've got, but I've got full confidence that the boys are going to come through. So let's take a look at this Duke team and see what they're all about, and then let's take a look at exactly how Georgia Tech can win this football game. Now, I want to make something very clear. Behind all the bravado and being a huge Georgia Tech homer, I'm an objective guy, and I've been watching football for a long time, so I'll just go ahead and say Duke is a good football team. They have my absolute respect. They've improved a lot this year, and this is going to be a huge task for Georgia Tech. It all starts with Duke's offense. As I've said in previous videos, Darian Mensah is a really good quarterback, and they also have a pair of very good running backs in Anderson Castle and Nate Shepard. And when you look at Georgia Tech's defense this year, it's been kind of average, at least when it comes to giving up yardage. That being said, they've been very good as far as not giving up too many points. The highest point count they've given up this year was against Wake Forest with 29 points, and that was a game where Tech's offense was putting them in a lot of bad spots. However, this will be the best offense that Georgia Tech has faced all year. Bar none, there's no question about it. Duke has a very potent offense, and Tech is really going to have to step up their game if they don't want to give up a lot of points. And how exactly is Georgia Tech going to do that, you might ask? Well, it's going to have to really come from the offense. Georgia Tech in this game is going to need to control the ball well and limit Duke's possessions. And a big part of that is going to be not turning it over. Although it's gotten better recently, Georgia Tech has been uncharacteristically turning the ball over this season. And when you look at Duke's defense, during the 3-game stretch between NC State, Syracuse, and Cal, they forced 11 total takeaways. So that's all to say, if Georgia Tech is able to take care of the football, they may be able to limit Duke's opportunities on offense, as their offense has been taking advantage of a lot of extra possessions in some of their previous games. So if you look at what the game plan is going to look like for Georgia Tech, it's going to be similar to what we're known for. It's going to be controlling the clock, it's going to be running the football, it's going to be playing a clean game. And if Georgia Tech's able to do that, they're going to put themselves in a position to win. And I think Tech is going to be able to do that. When you look at Duke's defense, although they've been good at getting takeaways, they've given up a lot of yardage, including a ton of yards against NC State, and their defense also looked poor against the two best teams that they played this season in Tulane and Illinois. And looking specifically at that Tulane game, the stat I found the most interesting was their quarterback, Jake Retzlaff, ran for over 100 yards and 4 touchdowns in that one. And I hope we can all agree on something, that Haynes King is the best running quarterback this year. So hopefully King is able to replicate a lot of that success on the ground. And a reason why Duke may struggle with running quarterbacks is they run a lot of man coverage. And in case you didn't know, when you play man coverage, the defender's backs are turned away from the quarterback, unlike zone coverage where they're facing the quarterback and guarding a zone. So if a quarterback scrambles against a man coverage, then the defenders aren't necessarily going to be able to see him and move up and try and stop it. So it'll be interesting to see if Duke changes things up and runs more zone. They have had an extra week to prepare coming off of a bye, which is a really interesting thing to note. They may be able to install some more packages on defense specifically designed to guard Haynes King in this Georgia Tech offense. We'll see. Another kind of interesting point to note about this game is recently Manny Diaz has been getting a ton of buzz regarding the Penn State opening. I have no idea about if he's been communicating with them or anything like that. I'm not this inside source guy. I don't really have access to that information. But that being said, it's just interesting to point out. And it's one of those things where if there's smoke, there's fire. So there may be some mutual interest, but I'm not putting a lot of stock into the idea that Duke is going to be distracted for this game, but it's just interesting to point out. So we've talked enough about some of the things regarding this game. It's time to get into a prediction, and I'm going to take the Jackets in this one, as always. I'm going with Georgia Tech 31, Duke 30. I think Tech wins in a very clutch way. I think it's going to be a tight game all the way down the wire. And as we've seen with Tech this season, they've come up in clutch moments, and I trust them to come through again. Let me know what you think about this game in the comments. Personally, I'm a little bit worried, but I think the guys are going to pull this one out. Anyways, have a great weekend and go Jackets. Thank you for watching.